Hello and welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today, the Karnataka High Court started hearing the case of a student from the Government PU College of Karnataka who asked that she be allowed to wear her hijab while attending classes as a matter of right. This hearing will continue tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. but today the court urged all parties to maintain peace in the interim. The arguments, of course, were along familiar lines, that of a choice versus uniformity, that of a right to religion versus public order. But the more serious aspect of this entire controversy actually played out outside the courtroom, where students across Karnataka came face to face. Students with saffron shawls and hijabs, in some places even engaging in a confrontation. The biggest worry for us today is religious identity overtaking the basic tenet of every educational institute, and equal access to and pursuit of education, and education alone. And of course, the more existential question I've asked right from the beginning, when this controversy started from the beginning of 2022. As a modern society, is the veiling of women in India, irrespective of religion, an idea that we should ascribe to and aspire to? Or worse, is this an idea, as we are seeing increasingly, one that should be glorified?
ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಅವ್ರು ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಿನ್ನೆಯಿಂದ ಬಂದ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಆರೆ ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತು ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಬರೀಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಶಾಲ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದದ್ದು. ನಿನ್ನೆ ನಾವು ಶಾಲ್ ಹಾಕ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದೇ ದಿನ ಟೈಮ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಇವತ್ತು ನಿನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲಾದ್ರೂ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ನೀವು ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಡ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ.
ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸೇಮ್ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೂ ಸೇಮ್ ಹಂಗೆ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಬರಬಾರ್ದು.
One of them said more than education, for him the uniform is important, and we heard the same sentence coming in from the other side as well, and they said that the hijab is more important than the exams or the education. So it's quite dramatic, the kind of reactions that we're really getting. ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ನ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬಿಡೋಕೆ?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಿನ್ನೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಇವತ್ತೊಂದು ದಿವಸ ಬಿಡುವ, ನಾಳೆಯಿಂದ ಅವ್ರು ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡ್ ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ, ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಬಿಡುದಿಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಕೂಡ ಒಳಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಡುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರು ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಹೋಗ್ತೇವೆ ಒಳಗೆ.
Well, they're saying if they are allowed inside the campus, even they should be allowed wearing the saffron shawl. So it's a standoff of sorts.
They are asking, remove your scarf or else sleep. They are telling, remove your scarf or else sleep. We can't remove our scarf. But we are not ready to this. We are not ready to agree this.
Okay. And as far as the uniform in the college is concerned, what has been the practiced uniform here in the college? What has been the usual uniform?
They allowed to wear hijab. Now they are suddenly starting this. We could have gone to PPC, Vidyodaya. Why we came here? Because hijab is allowed. So only we came. Our parents allowed here, so hijab is allowed. Or else we would have not come here. Hijab is allowed. Suddenly they can't remove. Suddenly they can't tell us to remove. It's our obligation. It's trust to us.
You're all first year students?
Final year. If we were first year, it has not. Suddenly it became an issue.
So you've been wearing it from when?
3 years. We are wearing it from school days. Not from class. We are wearing it since childhood. Even if we go outside the campus or else from outside to become somewhere, we wear this. These boys wear saffron shawl today only. They could have wear it from since childhood. We don't have any problem. We will see how many days they will play. How many days they will wear. Yeah, we will see how many days they will wear.
That are protesting here, they are demanding that they should be allowed to wear a hijab, and they are saying that they will not even write the exams if they are not allowed to wear a hijab. They are saying that they will continue to protest. If you wear a hijab, there should be uniformity.
Let them wear their saffron shawl. We have no problem. We respect their religion. They respect their religion. They don't. They should respect us. They should first respect us. They should learn.
Today the Karnataka High Court is hearing this matter. I'm just asking you in terms of two scenarios. One is if the Karnataka High Court allows for you to wear a hijab.
Priority, education is secondary. This is our first priority. hijab is first priority. And we will wear hijab and learn.
Yes.
Okay. And even if the High Court directs that you shouldn't wear it,
That means High Court cannot go against our constitution, so we'll protest again.
Yeah, Article 14 says we have right to wear anything. And we have right to speak.
We are the citizen of India, and we have got.
Don't answer their questions. They are national.
and right now exams are being affected. Is that a concern?
They are your first priority. Hijab is first priority. Then
Go out of the college. Leave. Please adjust the college.
Don't push.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
So the whole issue of the hijab and whether it is about religious identity, whether it is regressive, whether it's about choice, it's a very fraught one. And very frequently when politics overtakes the issue of right, women and their choices become a playground of politics and the main issue is left behind. Across the world, there have been thousands of women who have fought against the veil, who have fought against the hijab. And a very prominent voice is Yasmine Mohmmade. She's a Canadian writer and women's rights activist. And she, in fact, is also who has started the conversation about No Hijab Day. Yasmine, I want to first start by asking you, what prompted you to start this? Because hijab is allowed in many countries. Why do you, having been born into the Islamic faith, wanted that hijab be gone forever?
Well, I started the day because there was a day called Hijab Day on February 1st that was started by an Islamist in the US. And it was a day that was, in 140 different countries, they would invite non-Muslim women to wear the hijab for the day. And I felt that that was an incredibly insidious thing to do. And I thought to myself, as somebody who was, as you said, born and raised in the Islamic faith, forced into the hijab when I was 9 years old, forced into niqab when I was 19 years old, so I was covered head to toe in black. And so I understand intimately how anti-woman this hijab is. And for them to go around and invite women to wear it as if it's just a fashion statement, as if it's just a benign piece of clothing, I was disgusted, I was horrified, I was angry, and I felt very, very betrayed by the secular West. I mean, at the time, and still today, there are women in prison in Iran. There are women who have had their faces disfigured with acid. There are women who have been killed all over the world over the hijab. And so in response to that, I started No Hijab Day also on February 1st. Now, as opposed to them asking women to wear hijab for the day, I can't ask women to take off hijab for the day because I know that women will be disowned by their families. They will be, attacked. They could be imprisoned. They could even be killed. So I could never ask them to do that. So instead, what we had was a day where we could support Muslim women and ex-Muslim women who were forced into the hijab and who have chosen to take it off and who had to face all sorts of repercussions over that. And so it's a day to stand in solidarity with those women and also to bring awareness to the fact that the hijab is not a benign piece of clothing. The hijab is anti-woman. The hijab is anti-freedom. The hijab is a victim-blaming, tool of misogyny that perpetuates rape culture. And we need to talk about that. We need to inform the public about that because they seem to think that the hijab is just a fashion statement.
So let's take this one by one. The reason why I'm speaking to you today is that an issue which you have raised for so many years, which the West has dealt with, Europe has dealt with, in India here we're at the center of it. And it all started when a group of girls in one of our states said, we have to wear the hijab to school because we cannot practice our religion. Now to oppose that, they say, is to deny them the right to practice their religion. How do you respond to that?
That is not a true statement at all. The hijab is a very contested issue within Muslims. Many Muslim women do not wear hijab. They are not any less Muslim than women who wear it. In fact, it is only the fundamentalist and extremist families that push their daughters or their mothers or their sisters or their wives to wear hijab. That's where you're going to find hijab. The feminist, free-thinking, liberal Muslims, they understand that the hijab is a tool of misogyny, and they do not wear the hijab. And this is another problem I have with the hijab, and that's the issue of making this idea that there are supreme women and subordinate women, that the better women, the better Muslims wear hijab, and the lower Muslims or the lower women don't wear hijab. This is, of course, part of the reason why it's such a toxic ideology. The whole idea behind hijab was to separate Muslims from non-Muslims.
But again, is it not a choice? If a child wants to wear it to school, that is the idea, right, that you're grappling with. Aren't we not being patronizing to tell a girl, if she wants to wear a hijab, it's her choice, isn't it?
That is such a duplicitous game that is played, which is to talk about the word choice. Because when you tell a young girl, do you want to go to heaven or do you want to go to hell? Do you want Allah to be proud of you, or do you want to be a cursed girl? This is not a choice. You are not given a free choice. The hijab is put on girls at a young age, and if they try to take it off, then you will see that it's not a choice, because a choice means that you can put it on or you can take it off at your own will. So when these girls from extremist and fundamentalist families tell you, we must wear hijab, we have to wear hijab, it's a part of our religion, what they're telling you is it's not a choice. So they, in fact, are the ones that are contradicting themselves. So fundamentalist extremist Muslims do believe that Muslim women must wear it, and they do believe that it's not a choice, and they torture women, if not kill them, if they choose to take it off. My mother threatened to kill me when she saw that I wasn't wearing hijab anymore. That's the kind of situation we're dealing with. However, like I said before, there are many Muslims, many devout, pious Muslims who do not wear hijab, and many pious Muslim families do not force the hijab on the women in their family.
Isn't it also a way of asserting your identity? Now, we, and you in particular, are associating hijab with repression, or in a way indoctrination, where a child is told that you have to wear it in order to prove that you are pious. But in the current situation, where you've got a lot of identity politics, Islam in particular, so to want to assert your identity, maybe women also choose that as a marker of their identity and not see it as a symbol of patriarchy or repression or regression.
You know, how an individual woman sees it is going to vary by the numbers of women that there are out there, and each one of them is going to be wearing it for different reasons. But the bottom line is the hijab itself, the purpose for the hijab, you know, the victim blaming purpose of it, to say, cover yourself so that men do not harass you, cover yourself so that you are not assaulted by men. That's victim blaming, and that is anti-woman, and that is anti-feminism. And at the end of the day, we cannot define hijab in 2 million different ways, depending on the different women that are wearing it and why they're wearing it and how they're wearing it. We have to look at the ideology itself and why the hijab even exists and how it came about. And the men that force it on the women and their families, what are the messages that they are pushing on these women?
You know, you used a very interesting phrase. You said that this is about the secular West and its hypocrisy. How do the ideas of secularism and the hijab, or putting women in veil, you know, you speak about the hijab, Just for clarity, I'm talking about veil in general, irrespective of who or what religion wears it. How does the idea of a secular state and women being veiled square?
It doesn't. You know, that's trying to put a square peg into a round hole. So, you know, here in the West, we talk about women's freedom all the time. Women, to the point here in the West, they talk about free the nipple. You know, and women in the Muslim world just want to free their hair. They just want to free their face. That women should have the freedom to wear or not wear whatever they want. That should not be up for debate in a secular country. But the point here is that if they, you know, just because people make choices, and in a secular country, we should allow people to make whatever choices they want to make, it doesn't preclude me from making a judgment about that choice. If somebody is going to do something, if they're going to perform FGM on their daughter, or if they're going to force their daughter into a marriage, or if they're going to force their daughter into hijab, I'm going to speak out against those things because I think those things are toxic, and I think those things are dangerous, and I think those things are anti-women. So even though I feel like, you know, I don't think that we should ban the hijab. I don't think in a secular country we should say nobody is allowed to wear hijab, because I think you have a productive result. What could happen is people will start to want to wear it just to assert themselves, just to, as you said, to make it a part of their identity. So I think that it's best to allow people to do what they want to do, but socially, we have to speak out against things that are toxic.
There's also an argument that says, I'm hurting no one. I'm wearing it. It's just a piece of clothing. Some women drape it on their shoulders. I'm putting it on my head. What is it to you? Why do you want to stop me from covering my face? It's not hurting anyone.
Well, you see that this is the double standard, though, because when I was living in Qatar, I wasn't allowed to make the choices about what clothing I wanted to wear. I wasn't allowed to make the choices about drinking water during Ramadan. I wasn't even allowed to drink water in the desert. So when you are going to a school and this is the particular uniform, or if you're in a country and these are the particular laws, then you need to abide by them. And what ends up happening quite often is that double standard with, and again, this is only the Islamists, these are only the extremist fundamentalist Muslims. They will push and push and push to, you know, spread the word of Islam, because that's the ideology, that's what they're meant to do. And so there isn't this feeling of, you know, when in Rome. So when I was living in Qatar, I had to follow their way, or I would be kicked out. You know, there was no option. And so Muslims, you know, in Qatar, they understand that idea of following rules and abiding by laws. But when they go into other countries, they forget. They think that they somehow have this supremacist idea that people must follow their rules and people must abide by their laws. But when they are in other people's countries, they don't have to follow the rules and they don't have to abide by the laws. So, you know, at the end of the day, if that's the uniform for the school, then if you're happy with the uniform of the school, then by all means, attend the school. If you're not happy with the uniform of it, then there are many other schools to choose from.
Very valid point you made, that it should not be thrust on anyone, but at no level should there be a glorification of what is, yes, if not repressive, then definitely regressive. So for everyone watching, all the young girls in school who want to make that choice, Yasmine, what has been your relationship with the veil that has brought you to this point? If you could describe that journey to us.
Well, for me, the veil was forced on me at a very young age, and I was not given a choice. And it's a very common story. So I have a series on YouTube where I speak to different women. It's called Forgotten Feminists, where I speak to different women from all around the world. And it's surprising how my experience in Canada can exactly mirror the experience of a woman in Saudi Arabia, or a woman in Somalia, or a woman in Indonesia, or a woman in India, or a woman in Sudan. because of Islam. It is the one thread that connects us all. And we were forced into hijab. We were forced to lose our identities. That's really the most heinous part of, in my opinion, of the hijab, is that you're not an individual person. It's like you have the word Muslim stamped on your head, and you're just seen as Muslim girl. You're not seen as Yasmine, as an individual. And, of course, at the age of 9, I was not allowed to ride a bike, not allowed to go swimming. I have to, you are a woman now, they tell you. And so it's all about preparing you to become a wife and preparing you to learn how to cook and learn how to clean and learn how to obey your husband. So there are so many more, the hijab is the tip of the iceberg. It's just what we see on the outside. It's just the physical representation of all of the subjugation and the dehumanization of women. And so that's why it's such an important marker. It's such an important symbol. Because when you see it, you just know that there's so much more behind it. And it's all of those things that we need to be fighting against. It's not the piece of cloth itself, but it's for all of the things that it signifies and all of the things that it, the ideology that it stands for.
So finally, I want to ask you, in our case, for example, you said that the hijab is in a way to prepare you just to become a wife. But to be fair, these children that we are talking about, they are riding two-wheelers also, they are coming to school also, they are studying also. For all you know, they will go up and go out in the world and do wonderful jobs. They will work, they will make a name for themselves. So how do you strike that balance? Or should you just leave it to gradual evolution where maybe over time these women will make up their minds about where they stand vis-a-vis the hijab?
But that's the key, is that we have to speak out. We cannot just say, it's okay, it's their culture, it's okay, it's their religion, and turn a blind eye and allow things to fester. And we have to criticize things when we see them. We have to talk about how the hijab, we're not, even if you don't, I'm not saying ban it, but I'm saying talk about how it is anti-woman. Talk about how it is victim blaming. Talk about how it perpetuates rape culture. And these Muslim people, these Muslim women will be listening. If you click on the hashtag free from hijab, or you click on the hashtag no hijab day, you'll hear thousands and thousands and thousands of stories from women. And I can't tell you how many messages I get from all over the world all the time, where people will say to me, I hated wearing this. And I had so much anxiety and I had so much self-hate, but I didn't understand why. And the reason why they don't understand why is because they're not hearing any counter narratives. When you're living in Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan or Pakistan, these conversations are not happening. And so women don't have opportunities to even advocate for themselves, or to even see themselves as, human beings worthy of demanding rights over their own bodies, demanding their own personal autonomy. So that's why these conversations are very important.
And that's the point of having this conversation with you, Yasmine Mohmmade. It's been a pleasure to speak to you, and thank you very much for speaking out today and always. Thank you. This controversy may blow over, but these are fundamental questions that we must discuss much more, or as Yasmine says, let's talk about it. But what happens now to the students in Karnataka till the time that the court actually pronounces its judgment, and after, how is the government now dealing with a controversy that has become much bigger than just a few colleges? Joining us now is the Minister for School Education. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to us. First, let me begin by asking you, now it's gone to several parts of the state. How are you going to control it?
As you said, now it has been spread to some part of Karnataka, but you should know that we have running more than 5,000 and odd colleges, but there was only a protest in single college of Udupi, which was started by some 6 girls who wanted to not to follow the college uniform, and they wanted to put hijab and attend the classes. But according to the Karnataka Education Act and Rule 711, every recognized institution has every powers to prescribe uniform and according to that they had prescribed the uniform. The student were not ready to follow that uniform, and they insisted on a hijab. So the problem has started, and it was on the verge of closing. But people who had instigated such things who did not wanted this to take place. They wanted this to continue. It should be kept in life. So many such people who tried to disturb the education of girls in that community are doing some mischief. So and so it went to Kundapur. Again in Kundapur only there are more than hundreds of Muslim girls studying in that college. Only 22 girls started problem. Again problem telling that according to our dharma, hijab has to be, we have to put hijab. Again the principal and the committee said that we cannot allow the other than uniform. The problem started. Some political forces also interfered in it. Then there is disturbance among 12 or 13 colleges in the Karnataka now.
All right, before we talk about the specific issue you raised that they've just started wearing it, the students are disputing that. But haven't the competing politics now reduced educational institutions to a playground for identity instead of education?
Yeah, that is what we education department is saying. No, when hijab is not a part of a uniform, they cannot put hijab. And immediately when they forced us to put, they will come with hijab. As a reaction, some students said that if you are allowing their dharma, the girls to allow their dharma, they said that we are also come according to our dharma. The institutions are not the place where dharma should be followed. Education places are the place where knowledge can be, they have to get knowledge and they have to study and they have to become independent, good citizens of the country, where brotherhood has to be developed, a common thinking should be developed. In such institution, some miscreant has created the problem and it has now gone to the court. We are waiting for the judgment tomorrow, and after getting the judgment, definitely government is going to take decide things about this.
All right, so you're saying that hijab is not acceptable in a school because it is a religious marker, but a saffron scarf is not?
No, it is not. It is not about dharma. When you decide that you can come without uniform, you can come any way you mind, then automatically they said we will come according to our wish and wills. When you can allow some girls to come with not following the uniformity of the school, we will also come as we like.
Okay, now of course you have suggested that these students have the backing of right-wing activists. In fact, the girls are saying that those who heckle them have got right-wing backing.
Sorry, madam. Don't, now itself it has spread among the society. Please don't misquote the things. No organization has been involved. Initially, for 1 month, no political leaders had been involved. So unnecessary, don't drag the thing into the society. Only when there was a pure reaction for the girls who wanted to follow their own practices, then only the problem has occurred. That too not among all the girls of their community, only few people, students who has been misguided by the so-called reported by now as CFI and PFI is instigating these girls.
Okay, so are we to understand that the girls who are coming in hijab are politically influenced, campus front, PFI, what have you, but those who came in saffron scarves are doing it voluntarily? Now we've even got videos that the pagdis that they were wearing were distributed to them before the entire protest, and then they went back and they actually submitted it. So clearly there is some mobilization that has happened there as well.
Yeah, there is a report, specific report that They actually, you should be knowing that the girls were coming to the college since 1.5 years. Whenever the college were running, they were coming to the college without hijab. Why now they started that we have to come to the college with hijab? I think you have seen many interviews and they say it is our dharma which is saying we have to put hijab. They are not saying that we want hijab. Our dharma is saying that the hijab, we have to put that scarf on our head. They are the people who use that name of dharma. I think you can see the interviews of that girls.
Okay, but you know, we've spoken to the girls who was heckled, and they have said it is their right and they are being stopped.
Again, madam, I am requesting, don't misguide the society, because it was the problem started by that 6 girls. I can send the photos of that girl with which you spoke. She has come to the school without hijab for many days. I can send photos and videos. Don't misguide the society by telling that they were following the hijab. They were not following the hijab, but since they started putting hijab in January, the college management said that without uniform we cannot allow any other dresses. And then they said that our dharma says, our Islam practice is that we have to put hijab. Till then, no dharma had come to the Karnataka. I again tell you that there are 9 colleges in Udupi run by our government, and out of that 9, in all 9 colleges, there are many Muslim students studying that colleges. No one so far has said that we are going to put hijab. Only few students are doing this, means definitely they are provoked by some organization and they are behind the organization.
Okay, so you're saying that the same girls who are now coming to college in hijab earlier came to classes without it. They are actually saying the exact opposite. They're saying that for 2 years or more they have been wearing the hijab, and even if they didn't, it's because they did not know that the rules actually allow them. You seem to be quite clear that they are under the influence of some organization. Who is it?
We have heard, I don't know, investigation has to be taken place. I have heard that College Front of India, which is a student organization of Popular Front of India, is behind it. I heard, but investigation has to be taken place. After investigation, I can let you know what is the real facts.
But this has impacted education in institutes across Karnataka now. How are you going to ensure that that is dealt with? You may have announced, you know, a 3-day closing down. But what after that, when they come back to class?
Yeah, because of that, we are saying that education institutes should be above all such practices. Education institutes are not the platform for the practices. Education means, so far, how the girls were coming with whatever the prescribed uniform, they have to come there, they have to maintain the discipline, they have to see that the atmosphere of the education should not be disturbed.
Now, don't you think when the first case was reported, as you yourself say, it all started in January, at the beginning of this year, the government should have addressed it with alacrity. Instead, for the last 30 days, the government, the colleges have gone back and forth, you know, talking about, oh, we have a uniform, but we don't have a uniform. We have guidelines, we cannot impose uniform. Why did you not just jump into action sooner?
That is, I am saying for last 1 month, it was not spread to any other college. It was a specific problem of Udupi College and the specific problem of only 6 girls. We were using all our effort to see that this will be solved among the student and the college.
Okay, finally, let me ask you, 3 days you have shut down colleges. Is that like putting a band-aid on a cancer? What happens after that? You think all these divisions and all these differences will go away?
Yeah, definitely. We see when the matter is in the court, when the judgment is going to come, if some miscreants should not use this occasion to create violence in the society. So the Chief Minister has taken a right stand that this will be closed for 3 days.
All right, I'm going to leave it at that, Mr. Nagesh. Let's hope that the government, now that it has woken up to the situation, is going to ensure that irrespective of what happens in court, the communal harmony, the social fabric is maintained, and politics should not be allowed to overtake the basic aim and tenet of these institutions, which is education. Thank you for speaking to us.